Hello, I'm Rascador. Today, I'm going to do a fuel economy test, on the way home from work in Gangnam. Today is the 38th fuel economy on the way home test. And for the first time, I'm going to review the Volkswagen car. I've posted a lot of test results on my blog about Volkswagen cars. But I've never done this test with Volkswagen car. I will start at exactly 5 o'clock today as well. These days, the distance of about 24.8 kilometers. From Gwangmyeong to Jamsil takes about 2 hours, so we're going to test how fuel efficient it will be after 2 hours. The car we're going to compare to today is not a direct competitor. However, as it's a 7-seater model, we'd like to compare it to the old model Audi Q7 and the Santa Fe AWD gasoline 2.5. The Q7 model has a certified fuel ratio of 8.6 km per liter. The city fuel consumption is 7.7 km per liter. The Santa Fe model has a complex fuel consumption of 9.5 km per liter, and the downtown fuel consumption is 8.6 km per liter. Today's vehicle is the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace 7-seater. This model has certified fuel economy of 10 km/L and city fuel economy of 9 km/L. So I think it's similar to the Santa Fe 2.5 gasoline. In fact, I cannot yet predict what the outcome will be today. Because I've driven a lot of Volkswagen diesels. But I haven't driven a lot of Volkswagen gasoline vehicles. Moreover, it's a Volkswagen gasoline SUV. To be honest, we used to think that diesel is the main product for Volkswagen. However, it seems to be oriented toward gasoline like other brands these days due to emission problems. So today we'll be comparing the two cars, Santa Fe and Audi Q7. Let's compare whether this Tiguan Allspace 7-seater model and the general model should be purchased with expensive money. I'll start at exactly 5 p.m. First of all, the trim fuel economy displayed now is 2.7 km/L from my home to here, so I'll initialize it. It's 5 p.m. Let's start. There's traffic here from the start. The fuel economy test environment on the way home from work seems to be getting worse. Oddly enough, there are more and more cars. I'll run the first fuel efficiency test at Guro Digital Complex Station and continue. I'm passing 2.8 kilometers of Guro Digital Complex. First of all, the fuel economy of Tiguan Allspace is about 5.6 kilometers per liter, and it took about 16 minutes. The city fuel economy is 9 kilometers per liter. But the fuel economy up to here is only 5.7 kilometers per liter. So you can think of it as a little bad. But it took Audi Q7 11 minutes to get here and it got 5.3 km per liter. The Santa Fe AWD model took 17 minutes to get here, showing a 5 km per liter fuel economy. Looking at this, you can see that this vehicle is doing well, based on the 2.0 gasoline turbo. Today's Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace TSI gasoline 2.0 turbo. Tiguan Allspace shows certified fuel economy of 10 km per liter. And combined city fuel economy of 9 km/L. Tiguan has a gasoline model only at the top of Allspace. Below that, there are 2.0 TDI diesel models with a complex fuel ratio of 14.6 km/L. The city's certified fuel ratio is 13.3 km per liter. If it's not an Allspace 7-seater model, how much fuel efficiency will it get? The basic 2.0 TDI model, the basic Tiguan model, are all 2.0 diesels. There's no gasoline model. Only the Allspace 7-seater model has a 2.0 gasoline turbo model. The Tiguan 5-seater basic model has been certified for fuel economy of 15.6 km/L and city fuel economy of 14.2 km per liter. In addition, there's no 4-wheel drive model on Allspace. However, the general Tiguan model can be purchased as a 4-wheel drive model in Korea. The basic Tiguan 4-wheel drive model 2.0 TDI consists of certified fuel economy of 13.4 km per liter and city center of 12.5 km per L. Should I buy gasoline or diesel? I think there are many people who think that there's no option for a regular Tiguan. But in the case of the Allspace model, there are gasoline 2.0 and diesel 2.0. so we will talk about that also later. As of today, gasoline is 1,978 won kRW. And diesel is 1,644 won. Suppose you buy an all-space diesel model. And drive 20,000 km per year. About 2.25 million won kRW is used for annual fuel costs. And when calculated with a gasoline model, it is calculated to spend 3.15 million won per vehicle. In fact, depending on how you drive, some people get a little better gasoline than the official mileage, and some people get a little better diesel. So you just need to know that. Therefore, please note that the fuel cost of about 900,000 Korean won can vary greatly depending on the person. We'll go all the way to Siloam and through the entrance to Seoul National University. Now, I'm going to pass through Siloam, Seoul National University entrance, Sadang, and Bangbei on this route. I'll check the fuel economy one more time. At the entrance of Seoul National University. It is passing near the entrance of Seoul National University, which is an 8-kilometer section. It took 31 minutes. Overall, the traffic is a bit more than I thought. But the Audi Q7 took 26 minutes to get here. And the fuel economy is showing 6.5 kilometers per liter. And the Santa Fe 2.5 gasoline model took 42 minutes to get here. There was a lot of traffic, so the fuel efficiency was 5.9 kilometers L. Tiguan Allspace gasoline turbo model shows a 7.8 km L fuel efficiency up to this point. On the other hand, the Tiguan Allspace 2.0 gasoline, so it's not bad. Now, let's compare the price difference between the basic Tiguan TDI and the Allspace model. The Volkswagen Allspace TDI premium model starts at 48.9 million won, and the 2.0 TDI medium trim is 51.9 million won. And the top trim is the same as TDI and TSI, and is also 51.9 million won. In the case of general vehicles, especially Hyundai and Kia, diesel is slightly higher. However, Volkswagen sells petrol and diesel vehicles at the same price, and the 2.0 TDI premium model starts at 43.9 million Korean won. So it seems like a difference of about 5 million won. For top models, the price comparison is very vague. The top 2.0 TDI model costs 49.9 million won, which is about 2 million won different from the all-space model. However, there is a gap difference because there are 4-motion. If so, the 4-wheel drive model is likely to cost about 3 million won. So if you say, I don't need a big car, I want a 4-wheel drive model, you can buy the regular Tiguan 2.0 TDI 4-motion model. I want a 7-seater model, and a more relaxed. I want a 7-seater model or a big car with little space. If you think so, it would be better to buy a Tiguan Allspace. This story will be covered in detail in a moment. First, let's talk about the differences between petrol and diesel models. Looking at the differences between the two vehicles, when looking at the same top model, the gasoline model is about 55 kilograms lighter than the diesel model. There is a difference between a 55 kilograms person on board and a 55 kilograms part weight. For example, there was a story that if lower body parts such as wheels and brakes become lighter by 1 kilogram, the weight of a person can change by up to 10 kilograms. Anyway, the petrol model is 55 kilograms lighter than the diesel model. And in the case of the 2.0 TDI model, a 7-speed DSG model can be used. Therefore, it is using a dual-clutch model. And the gasoline model uses an 8-speed automatic transmission, and there is a difference in this part. There were many people around me who had ridden the 7-speed DSG. And personally, while working on cars for a while, I felt that maintenance was a little inconvenient. If you try to change the transmission oil once, there are many restrictions. Certain mission oil products must be used correctly. This part is a bit annoying to manage. Volkswagen vehicles are durable, so they don't break down easily. Once broken, it's really annoying. However, I am not sure about the gasoline 2.0 turbo model using an 8-speed transmission. I haven't ridden this car yet, and haven't seen anything broken around, so I'm not sure. But I don't think it will cost much to fix the DSG. And since it is an 8-speed automatic transmission and a 7-speed dual-clutch model, the 7-speed DSG seems to be better for gathering power. And personally, I think this cohesion felt while actually shifting is better in the 7-speed DSG model Tiguan. However, the more I drive at high speeds, the more I think the 8-speed automatic transmission is actually better in terms of fuel economy and ride comfort. And there is only one downside to this 8-speed automatic transmission. When starting from a standstill, there is a feeling that something pops out. And like I said, the Allspace model doesn't have 4Motion. That means there's no four-wheel drive, so except for this part, city driving is satisfactory. So that's a little disappointing. It is expected that the price will exceed the mid-50 million won range if the 4Motion are included here. Perhaps this is why 4Motion was left out of Allspace. So it would be nice to know that there is such a difference. That there is such a difference when compared to the general model and the 2.0 TSI model. Let's go to Yeoksum Station and talk again. After passing through Sedang, Bangbei, and Gyeonggi, it will be around 6:30 when you arrive near Yeoksum Station. I've arrived at Yeoksum Station. I drove 18.5 kilometers to get here. But Volkswagen isn't marked in 0.0 units, it only shows by the 1 kilometer. And it doesn't show by the 0.0. If you've come this far, that's roughly equivalent to driving 18.3 kilometers. And it took an hour and 20 minutes. The traffic is worse than I expected. The fuel efficiency is 7.5 kilometers per liter. The Audi Q7 tested under the same conditions recorded a fuel economy of 5.6 km/L in this position, and it took an hour. And the Santa Fe 2.5 AWD model took 1 hour and 26 minutes to get here, and the fuel economy per liter was 6.5 km/L. You can see that the Tiguan Allspace 2.0 gasoline turbo model has better fuel economy than expected. Are you debating whether to buy the 7-seater Tiguan Allspace model or the 5-seater base model? So let's compare these two models. First of all, the Allspace model has a longer overall length than the base model. The overall length of Allspace is 4,739 mm. The overall length of the base model is 4,510 mm. However, the overall width is the same at 1,840 mm. Therefore, it seems to be about the difference between the Tiguan long body version and the short body version. And I'm not exactly sure how different the suspension is, but there are some differences in height as well. The basic model has a total height of 1,635 mm. The Allspace model is slightly taller at 1,660 mm. For reference, the overall length of the Santa Fe is 4,785 mm. So, compared to the Santa Fe, the regular Tiguan feels a little small, but the Tiguan Allspace is very similar to Santa Fe. It would be nice to have this sorted out. And the Allspace 2.0 gasoline turbo model has a maximum output of 185 horsepower and a maximum torque of 30.6 kg/m. So the gasoline model has poor fuel economy, but the output is slightly better than the diesel. And the 2.0 TDI model has a maximum output of 150 horsepower. And the base model has a slightly higher torque of 36.7 kg/m. However, it would be nice to know that the gasoline turbo has slightly better output than the general model. Next, whether it is a 5-seater or a 7-seater, this part is also important. But I think it's more important to see how much space there is in the trunk, when only the second row is used. Since there are 7 people in the house, I don't think many people buy the 7-seater model. I think most of the people who buy the 7-seater Allspace model for a little more leisurely use than the 5-seater model. The Tiguan Allspace long body version has a trunk capacity of 700 L, and the regular Tiguan has a 615 L trunk capacity. So, if you fold the second row and use the entire second row, including the trunk, the Allspace model can use 1,775 liters. And then the regular Tiguan model shows 1,655 liters. The 5-seater model could only use 615 liters. However, if you fold the third row of the 7-seater model, the trunk capacity is said to be about 230 liters. So, 200 L is similar or a little lacking when compared to other 7-seater models. But I think you can fully understand that even if all 7 seats are used, there is about 200 L of space left. I think we'll be stuck in traffic all the way to Yeoksum Station. Today also, I can see a lot of red lights far away. So, I will go to Samsung Station, check the fuel economy in the middle, and go further to Jamsil Station to finish it. I've arrived at Samsung Station. It took about 30 minutes to drive about 2.3 kilometers. Today, as always, we are witnessing massive blockages. It took 1 hour and 54 minutes and fuel economy is 6.5 kilometers per liter. In the same 20.8 kilometers Samsung station section, the Audi Q7 took 1 hour and 10 minutes and recorded a fuel economy of 6.4 kilometers per liter. So even though the Tiguan is about 40 minutes behind the Q7, you can see that the fuel economy is better. And the Santa Fe 2.5 AWD model took 1 hour and 46 minutes in a similar section and recorded a fuel economy of 6.3 km/L. Looking at these results, it can be seen that the overall Tiguan Allspace is not too bad in terms of fuel economy. From now on, there won't be a lot of traffic. After arriving at Jamsil station, the last place of this test, check the final fuel economy and finish the test. I've arrived at Jamsil station. I drove 24.7 kilometers in total. It took 2 hours and 21 minutes. Fuel economy is showing 6.3 km/L. The Santa Fe 2.5 AWD model took 2 hours and had a fuel economy of 6.5 km/L. Therefore, it seems that Tiguan can be thought of as similar to Santa Fe or slightly better in fuel economy than Santa Fe. The Audi Q7 model arrived in 1 hour and 23 minutes with a fuel economy of 6.2 km per liter. It's true that the Audi Q7 should be low on fuel economy, with a fuel economy of 6.2 km/L. But it can be said that the Tiguan did a better job than expected. Lastly, the downside of the 7-seater is that there is no 4Motion, which is a little disappointing. I wonder what it would be like if I could choose the 4Motion, at the level of adding about 1 million to 2 million won. And it's a little disappointing that the price of gasoline and diesel models is the same. Other than that, I think it's overall very smooth and well set up. I'll talk more about the rest of the episodes on my blog. That's all for today. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. Thank you.